Hello, everyone. It's your boy Shadrach, that number one analytical consultant. Yes, that's me. Right. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit about foreign workers getting into the care sector. Right. This is for those that are looking to hire foreign workers from outside the country, outside the UK, and also that those that already have foreign workers within their private care setting or the government care setting. It's one and the same thing. But the aim of this video is to probably, hopefully, after sharing all this, it will maximize productivity and communication within those individuals, because as we are getting into this, it's also quite fair to look at it at a point that culture is something that varies and it differs, and actually affects the productivity of any individual in any setting. There are so many things that can develop just because of cultural differences. Somebody knowing somebody's language does not necessarily mean that they now understand how a society works. Understanding the language but not understanding how their cultural norms, their polite behavior, what they consider as polite behavior, it varies so much that even if you want to fully be productive at work, it becomes very difficult, because sometimes you feel like you don't really know what you're doing, or what you're doing, is it right or it's wrong. I've been in scenarios where I receive sort of reports from staff and clients as well, communicating in a way that the way somebody spoke didn't come the right way. But what if you had to speak with that foreign worker, what that individual was trying to communicate across becomes different, because maybe the body language, because of the body language, because of the tone that they used. So it kind of varies. It's also impacted very much by where you come from, what you consider as the right thing, what you consider as polite. I will just give you sort of a simple example from in my case, where I come from. All the elderly people, be it I've met you on the road, or I don't even know you, the first thing is, when I greet you in plural. It means that I greet the very same person um, as if I'm greeting 50 people, so that I sort of put that respect on that individual, despite I know them, despite their status, their level. They might have money, not money. I need to respect my elders. That's how it is. And also, I can't call an individual who's older than me by name, sometimes, because it's sort of difficult to do it, because you've spent so much time doing that, and that's what you were taught within what was expected as the most polite behavior within our cultural sector from where we're coming from. So when you come into the UK now, okay, no, not per se UK or any different work setting, where there are there's a different culture, it becomes to be that much difficult, and it can also affect how you address other individuals, because it's different from the UK. You can literally call somebody by their name, because they prefer it that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's just a huge gap in the care sector as we speak, because we have so many foreign workers that are already putting in their work, but then it's difficult to be recognized with some of these issues. So here are the main gaps that I think where this is stemming from. I'm looking at the induction process. The induction process is merely information, but it's mainly directed towards the role per se, but it's not touching upon the cultural diversity that you're going to come across. So I think, in as much as it can not really be a training, but it can sort of be encompassed in the induction day to really discuss these issues, because it that gap really needs to be filled. Yeah. So let me just go on to the other one. Mostly, even if the organization has policies, the policies are just documents. that are really, really huge, and any individual doesn't really have that much time to sort of go through the documentation. So it's more information, less practical, less more examples that are common or scenarios within your workplace. I'm sure the senior management will be well versed with these issues on in terms of how they operate. So it will actually help for those to explain how um, to address yourself, how do you even communicate, what's effective communication, and all that. But with the aspect of cultural differences that we come across, right? So I think the main problem then begins to be lack of communication. Some of the foreign workers, they are coming to work. You might find them not even trying to air out something that improves a service. You know what I mean? So it does not really help. They can't even let you know that, if I think maybe if we put this in place, this would help, right? Because they don't see it as something that they should do, based on them not even being confident in what's happening around them, especially when it comes to the cultural aspect, right? Another one will be that feeling of not feeling like you belong, or you feel like you're sort of excluded because there's not really much you can do. In as much as the job is secure, the contract is okay, everything is okay, but then that feeling of being excluded in some way, because there's a huge gap in sort of the way they communicate, the way they feel things should be done, can come different, because it can come or it can hit different to an individual, right? That's coming from a different place. And these people usually don't share feedback. Even if you're to ask them about how they feel about the work, they withdraw, because where they are coming from as well, it's at a place where you do not need to really say much, so that you can probably maneuver on your own. You know what I mean? Because you are taught to be, yeah, you need to be really clever. You need to be man enough to solve issues. So sometimes they might really have a problem, but they may bottle it in, because from where they are coming from, it may be something that you're a man. You don't need to speak out on those issues. You just have to man up. But in other cases, it's something that's affecting them. Sometimes maybe a supervisor is on their case. They're micromanaging them to an extent that they're failing to actually cope very well with work. But then, even back home, if you have to communicate with a brother back home, they'll just tell you, my brother, yeah, it's just work, just hang in there. But sometimes we can have a mediator then that comes in to just look at how the work is being done, but that individual may also hold it in, right? So it's also hitting on how the cultural difference is affecting them to literally speak up on anything. Then also not following instructions as well. Yeah, sometimes they may not follow instructions, or because they do not have that thing of, let's say you forget what you were meant to do, being shy, being feeling like, yeah, maybe this is not good because this person is too busy, is way up the chain. I can't really go back and bother him again about this, but I forgot to actually do this. So then, and it also maybe feels like I don't know my job, or something like that. We we come from different situations, and for sure, these really do affect how productivity is gonna be presented within the care setting. So most of them, they don't really feel outspoken more, because of maybe not knowing what they're doing. Especially the first months of starting that job, they are very, very hard, very rocky, because the expectation is, after the induction, we've taught you how to do the job and all that, but you are never taught how to communicate, how to come up with the what do we call effective communication, or acceptable communication. Let me put it in that way, or the accepted behaviors that are within the society in the UK. You're not taught that. So sometimes when you're having conversation with service users, that's why most of these incidences come about, because the intention is good, but at the same time, the way it's going to be communicated may not come out the way it's supposed to, because we're speaking of also a different society which accepts some form of communication to be done prior to communicating such certain information. So eventually, if you have to communicate, it's already gone. You can't even they're already telling you that you're taking a piss. You can't even do anything because that's how they see it. But then your intention is good. Yes, you wanted to really communicate in a polite way. That's how you assumed it was polite. But to them, it wasn't polite. So I think when I'm looking at this whole cultural issue, it's more of just having a section where within the induction to sort of go through most effective communication, give examples, be very practical as an employer. Just have this conversation and keep a practical open door policy that is very, very, very clear. At the same time, that is emphasized as often as possible, so that these people feel a bit more comfortable to come and share or communicate how they feel with whatever that's going on within the work setting. And then one of the other solutions that I would probably put in place if I have the chance to, cultural exchange activities. Sometimes there's not much time within the care sector to really go through this, but then what you can do is, for example, you can have an online activity about just the culture. You now know that within my organization I've got different cultures that have already come together, but at the end of the day, we want to come up with a sense of belonging and also creating a community so that these people can also be able to be more productive. They look forward to coming to work. They look forward to see each other at work. They look forward to do things together. Maybe share how each and every individual, probably online, even on Microsoft Teams, just a small cultural introduction of how somebody maybe prefers to be treated, in terms of being greeted, being in their cultural space, and even learn a bit more. People can have questions. So how do you do this? Oh, from my perspective, when we're greeting elders, we do this. You share all those ideas. Then at the end of the day, when the training comes, you have something that accommodates everybody, and the policy also would have some agreed ways of working that are really, really good, that emphasize more on the policy that is practical, policy and procedures that are practical. And then training on induction with scenarios, especially etiquette. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it right, etiquette or etiquette. So it also differs from where I'm coming from. So these are the things that we need to discuss, because this is customary code of polite behavior within a society or a group that it's common interest. You can't know what they wear and then expect to know how to interact with them and be as effective as possible. So going through the training should also cover this aspect of etiquette. There's a lot that can be covered within the cultural, even outside work, because whatever happens to that individual outside work, it also affects how he is going to behave within the work setting. He may be stressed also. So within the training, for the cultural training, it's just that etiquette factor should be factored in. That yeah, it should really, really be factored in, because it will really, really go a long way for them to understand their surrounding, and also increase effective communication, especially when they're speaking with the service users, the clients, despite their age groups or anything. There's a lot that they can learn. It will also really, really help. And then we have policies and procedures. This is another solution that we can put in place. Policy and procedures, they are really, really huge documents. But how do you ensure that my workers are actually going to go through all the policies and procedures? They may agree that they've read the policy and procedure by just understanding the objective of the procedure, to say, okay, fine, the objective of the procedure is to do this. But understanding the agreed ways of undertaking the making sure or fulfill the policy and procedure as a whole, that may be an activity of just signing a paper and they say, yeah, I've already read the whole policy, but there's some things that they don't go through. So what you can do as an employer, look at all your policies, create all easy reads that are very simple and straightforward, straight to the point, and also include the references of further reading for those policies. But the easy reads should be accessible, be it in supported living, they should have them, be it on emails, be it on wherever that's convenient, but make them easy reads so that it's easier for them to reference, and it's also easier for them to have to go through. It will really go a long way, because one thing I've noticed with most organizations and employers, read the policy, read the policies, yes, reading the policy, people, that's good. But if you want it to be effective, make it an easy read, break it down into smaller, just bullet points, you know. Even visuals, sometimes people are good with visuals, because we learn differently. Some are visual, some use movement, some learn from watching videos, some like audio. So you just try to accommodate all the learning styles that are there within the policy. It make it as short as possible. Yeah. And also, in terms of that culture aspect, you can accommodate what can be done, you know, especially if they can go through with further a reading for the procedure. And then you can also put in place a champion, or just have awareness within the organization. How do you then measure that you're putting in awareness within the organization? This comes with consistent communication with everyone within the organization, just on probably I may not say blogs, but just emails, on just informing them about how culture can actually affect the organization. How can you speak about it? How can you feel supported within the organization? Also encouraging the open door policy on a consistent basis within their emails. If they want to opt out for this, they always have the option, but there may be other ways of what they prefer as communication from that point onwards. So, in a summary, it's just a mini gap, but at the end of the day, this also affects an individual's productivity, especially communication within the organizational setting. So, it's a cultural shock. So, if efforts are being done towards that, somebody might feel that sense of belonging and also start to participate in a way that is productive, providing feedback, communicating more, sharing ideas, of how to even grow as a care setting. Anyway, it's enough chit chat for today. I think on the other video, I will speak about